Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on November 29th, 2021 at 7:03 p.m. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Cobian,
Present.
Commissioner Bugaris,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Dejanay,
Here.
Chairperson Korzek,
Present.
and Commissioner Sims is absent.
Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Commissioner Bergaris.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart and repeat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Bergaris. We're now going to move to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion and a second, please?
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Commissioner Dejanay moves.
Second.
and Commissioner Bergaris second. Do you want to do an electronic vote? Okay. Okay, all votes have been cast. And the motion carries. Thank you. Now we're going to discuss the public comments procedure. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under public comments on the agenda or the scheduled items or public hearings, must fill out a request to speak form available over there at the door. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. In speaking to the commission, members of the public are limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlement. We establish the overall time limit for comments on particular agenda items. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to other members of the commission, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. The next item is public comments on any item not on the agenda. Are there any speakers?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move to the consent calendar. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. All items listed are considered to be routine and non-controversial and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the commission requests that an item be removed for separate action. Items withdrawn for a report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. Questions or comments from the public on a consent calendar matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Under the consent calendar, do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let's see. The items under the consent calendar is item 1, minutes of the October 28th Planning Commission meeting. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar unless there's any discussion? Is there any discussion or any changes? Anyone? Okay, so maybe have a motion to approve and a second, please.
I move.
Commissioner Bergaris moves and a second.
Second.
Commissioner Dejanay seconds. Okay, and now we need to have the vote. Somebody's missing. Is it me again? Oh, this happens every meeting.
We can just take that as a verbal if you'd like, Chair.
It would be yes, thank you.
Thank you.
It worked the first time. All righty. The next item on and the motion carries. The next agenda on the item is non-public hearing items. At this time, we have no items. And the next item is public hearing items. Item number 1, a variance to allow an increase of on-site exterior retaining wall heights not exceeding 6 feet in height and within an approved 45-unit single-family residential product. May we have the staff report, please?
Good evening. The project before you this evening is a variance for retaining wall heights, as you noted. The site is located The site is located on the north side of Brodea Avenue, west of the Quincy Channel, in the Residential 3 District. The proposed variance request will allow for retaining walls that are a maximum of 6 feet in height in order to remove approximately 50% of the project site from flood hazard zone A, consistent with a conditional letter of map revision issued by FEMA. The layout of the track and the approved 45 residential lots will not be modified by this proposal. It's strictly to remove a portion of the site from the flood zone A. Staff therefore recommends that the Planning Commission approve Resolution Number 2021-53, finding that the proposed changes to the project are minor and consistent with the findings of the certified mitigated negative declaration, and approve the variance application based on the findings identified within the staff report. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for staff at this point? One? Okay, if not, would the applicant like to speak? If the applicant is here? Okay, thank you. All right, so if we have anyone have questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll call you up if we have some. Thank you. At this time, we'll now open public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions before we go into deliberation from the commissioners? Apparently not. At this point, we're going to move on. We'll close the public hearing, and we'll move on to deliberations. Any commissioner comments? Apparently not. If there is no discussion or comments, we could make an assumption that someone would like to call for a vote on this.
I'll call for a vote.
Okay, can you read what?
I move to approve Resolution 2021-53, Pen 21-0167, 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. May we have a second?
I second that.
Commissioner Kobe on seconds. May we have the vote, please? Mine is still not working, so I will, it's saying it's waiting on me.
Okay,
Oh,
Madam.
I got it. Okay, great. All right, that should do it. All votes have been cast.
Madam Chair, it's not reflecting on my end.
Okay. Oh, it is reflecting on my screen. I voted yes. It can be verbal, I guess, at this point. Okay, now is it showing up? Okay, now it is showing and it's all clear. Motion is approved. Thank you. Is there a staff wrap-up or anything else?
Yes. The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If the appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reason for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee of $750. If an appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council within 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Okay, moving on to item number 2. A conditional use permit, PEN 21-0095, and a plot plan, PEN 21-0096, for the construction and operation of a 7-Eleven with a 16-pump fueling station and an approximately 4,088 square foot convenience store with alcohol sales. May we have the staff report, please?
Presentation tonight will be made by Associate Planner Julia Dakota.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. The project before you this evening is a conditional use permit and a plot plan, as you mentioned, for a 7-Eleven convenience store with a fueling station. The project is located on the northeast corner of Heacock Street and Hemlock Avenue. The current site includes an office building to date, and it will be removed with this project going forward. The current general plan land use designation for this site is commercial with the current zoning of community commercial, which allows the proposed use with the approval of a conditional use permit due to the residential zoning that's within 300 feet of the site. The residential zone is 260 feet west of the project site on the west side of the community commercial zoning there on the west corner. The residential the properties to the north and east are within the specific plan 205, and the zoning over there is a mixed use with further east to that is retail and commercial zones, and to the west and south are existing retail and commercial uses. The project includes the construction of a 4,088 square foot convenience store and fueling station on 1.13 acres. The fueling station will be on the westerly portion of the site, will include the 8 pumps and a canopy. The project will be required to construct the on-site improvements, which will include the parking area, ADA path of travel from the public right-of-way to the convenience store and throughout the site, landscape areas, and water quality features that are required for the project. In addition, off-site street and sidewalk improvements with other modifications are conditioned as required to bring up the corner to the standards, which would include any ADA requirements within the public right-of-way. The existing building, again, will be removed and the parking lot will be removed. The project site will include the required parking. 18 spaces are required and 22 are provided. Including in that are ADA parking, a clean air vehicle parking stall, and a stall for a future van accessible electric vehicle charging station. There's also bike racks and air and water supplies provided on the site. The project design is a contemporary style. It's a single-story building designed using multiple materials, including stucco, clad siding treatments, veneer stone with glass and metal accents using brown and tan color combinations. Materials from the building will also be included on the canopy columns. Prior to the construction process as conditioned, the project will be required to submit a landscape plan, a lighting plan, and a sign plan, both for the building signs and the site signs, all meeting the municipal code requirements. The project has been evaluated under the criteria set forth in the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and the CEQA guidelines. As designed and conditioned, the project is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act under CEQA guidelines 15332 for infill development. The project was properly noticed per the municipal code requirements, displayed in the newspaper, mailed to all property owners within 600 feet, and posted on the project site. To date, staff has received 5 written comments provided to you in the packet and 3 written comments provided to you today, and received 7 phone calls regarding the project. At this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission make the following actions: to approve Resolution 2021-46 and find and determine that the conditional use permit, Pen 21-0095, is categorically exempt from CEQA, and approve the conditional use permit, Pen 21-0095, and approve Resolution 2021-47, find and determine that the plot plan, Pen 21-0096, is categorically exempt from CEQA, and approve plot plan, Pen 21-0096. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, the applicant is here to answer any questions you might have, as well as staff. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one question, Julia. On the 7 phone calls that were received, were they in favor? Were they questions? What was the nature, if you can recall?
Some were in opposition of the project, and some wanted information. They were all instructed that if they had any opposition or even for the project, that they needed to submit it in writing and email it to me. And some of those phone calls did result in some of the comments that you received.
That's what I was wondering, if some of those are part of the paperwork that we're seeing. So there is a little bit of a repetition there. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions of staff?
I do, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you.
So the project is going to be developed all the way to the back of the wall where the other existing commercial properties at, buildings. So it's going to go all the way to the back. So in other words, we're not going to see the dirt, because I went by there, we're not going to see that patch dirt. It's going to be used all the way to the back.
This parcel will be completely developed,
Okay.
yes.
And we are going to have enclosed garbage cans, right?
Yes.
Everything's going to be enclosed.
Yes,
Are there going to be any propane liquid sold
yes.
in containers or pumped? In containers instead, so you buy it out of the machine then?
Yes, and I'll let the applicant address that too.
Okay, good enough,
Yes.
good enough, okay. Great. All right, great. I wait for the applicant to come. Thank you.
I was a little curious on that. It says that the office building that's existing there is going to be demolished and taken away, and then entire new building is going to go up in its place,
Correct.
which is a deconstruction and building, and that is exempt from CEQA? I guess my question for you, usually when we have a new building going up, we usually have a CEQA report. Or is it too small to meet the?
Yes, it's under the 5 acres. It's infill. It's already a developed site. All the utilities are already to the site, and that falls under section 15332.
If no one else has questions, could we bring the applicant up, please?
Applicant has a short presentation for you.
Thank you.
And I'm more than happy. My name's Ryan Martin. Pleasure to be in front of you all again, representing the project, the district at Moreno Valley. We can certainly start with questions. I can go into a little brief presentation on the overall project just to give a little history on it if it helps. If you can go to the next slide. You know, we originally acquired the property back in 2018, and this is the collective property of the entire district. And if most of you recall, it was pretty much a dead center, had been developed in 1990, and then had fallen on hard times, and for the better part of 2 decades had been, you know, dilapidated and really no life other than a lot of homeless living in the city's detention pond and a few other areas. Through a lot of hard work and effort with the city and the city staff, we've had a pretty remarkable turnaround. We ended up developing, if you go to the next slide, we ended up, we're upside, there we go. We ended up developing the 4-building industrial park, or should say business park. All 4 of those buildings are leased. We ended up landing floor and decor in the old home base space. We landed a Wood Spring Suites hotel. They have not yet started construction just due to COVID, but they're supposed to start here hopefully in the next 60 to 90 days. We added a Sprouts development, which is incredible for the area, WSS, a Starbucks to go along with KFC, along with Yoshinoya, which has gone through a complete renovation here of late. So we think the fact that we've got a lot of really high quality brands. So adding really the preeminent convenience store brand in 7-Eleven right at the entrance to our project, we think is a huge win for both the project as well as the city and the residents in the neighborhood. I think everything that we've tried to do is to build something that's truly sustainable for the long term. And I've said this in other past, planning commission, city council hearings before. We really wanted this to be a walkable area. We've got access on Davis Street, off of Heacock, on Hemlock, through Nita, through Indian Ave, but we really want people to be able to walk, hopefully be able to walk to the grocery store, walk their kids, do those things. But just the same, we wanted the businesses that are in the project to have conveniences too, whether it's getting coffee at a Starbucks, getting coffee at a 7-Eleven. And I don't know if all of you have been in a 7-Eleven in a while, but it really is remarkable how much they sell. I mean, all of the breakfast sandwiches, the cold salads, the cold sandwiches, hot sandwiches, you name it. They've got a bunch of stuff that they sell, obviously all oriented around convenience items. But again, we just see this as a great, great win for the project, for the overall project, for the city and the neighborhood. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I would only note that I am not with 7-Eleven. This is a corporate store, so it's going to be owned by the corporation 7-Eleven. Unfortunately, the gentleman that would be representing him could not make this meeting. So I can get into most of the specifics, but I don't know that I'll be able to answer every question.
The slide that we're looking at there.
It is frankly, all of the buildings are there with the exception of building 5 up in the upper left-hand corner, and then the Wood Spring Suites is not currently there. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to drive by the site, but you can see that the Sprouts and the WSS, those are under construction. The old Arby's, new Starbucks will be renovated here soon. All of those, the Sprouts and what have you, are really slated to open in the spring. And then we've got a new traffic signal going in at Davis and Hemlock as well. So represents about 90% of what's currently there.
What would be the time frame from the minute you would break ground on this to approximate completion of the project?
It's a pretty short window. It's about 5 months, 4 months. So, I mean, it's a small store, so it comes together pretty quickly. Of course, you have all of the permits and everything that you still need to obtain. But once that's in place, once you put a shovel in the ground, it's about, call it 5 months.
I looked at the plans, and we know that there's going to be an entrance from Heacock going into the 7-Eleven, and there's also going to be an exit if they want to on Hemlock, right?
Correct.
So they're going to be able to go out that way also, make that U-turn, and go back to the corner on Heacock, and be able to get on the freeway with the light without having a lot of congestion.
That's correct.
Right. So, because I read some of the letters that people wrote, and they're concerned about having more extra congestion on Heacock. Now, a lot of people like to make that left. I don't make the law. I know if there's ever a sign that ever goes up there in the future, no left turn, they will have to eventually do the best thing that you did, have another exit on Hemlock, so they'll be able to make that U-turn, go back down to the corner, and make that left to get on the freeway, the safe way.
Correct.
Right. So we wait till things happen, so hopefully we'll see a sign, because that's the only way we might see a sign. So hopefully nobody gets to an accident, nobody gets hurt. But if everybody just did that, you'll have less congestion
Sure.
on Heacock. Just go back on the Hemlock and make that U-turn and go back down and make that left. And that would be the best thing if everybody did that. I hope they do. I hope they're listening tonight.
Right.
You know, go down Hemlock instead of Heacock and avoid that extra congestion. Because for me, when I look at the project, I just don't look at the outside. I look at the inside of the project.
Sure.
Because the inside of the project is much more important than the outside. I want to know when people go inside the building that they have room to walk around in the building and get what they need. That's what I like about the width of it, how big it is. It's roomy. So I'll say some of it for later. So we're gonna have the bends. Because I look at some of the pictures that somebody sent, and all the other plazas, their trash bins are not in a closed area. You're saying that you're going to have yours in an enclosed area where no one can get to it, you know,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So it'll be locked by 7-Eleven. So the only time that someone can go in there will be an employee to throw trash.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's good. So I'll talk about the pictures later.
And I'm happy to, I mean, I saw some of the comments as well. If it's beneficial, I don't want to interrupt you asking questions, but I'm happy to address some of those things if that would be helpful. So, you know, there were a couple comments and things seem to be oriented towards competition. I don't know how you you deal with competition. The Sprouts is competition for somebody, the Starbucks is competition for somebody, the 7-Eleven is competition for somebody else, and they all compete indirectly against each other. That's you know the way things are, and obviously there's nothing in the code to address that. But it seemed as though most of the comments were coming from that angle. But there was talk of increased crime, increased homelessness. I mean, to me, this is a 24/7 operation. It's well lit. They've got security cameras all over the place on the outside, on the inside. If anything, this adds to the you know the level of security in the area and everything that we're trying to do. As I said earlier, we had upwards of 40 homeless that were living on the property when we first acquired in 2018. I would say we're down to a handful of folks that roam through every now and then causing damage, but we've been fortunate. We've done a very good job of developing and getting rid of the blight, bringing, you know, liveliness to the area. And so, you know, to me, crime and homelessness are not going to be a part of that project. They're not going to be a part of our development. That's why we're doing what we're doing, to develop Sprouts. We want to bring nice things to this community. You know, there were a few other comments regarding traffic. Again, we did a traffic study, and there was nothing to mitigate all of this. To me, as you were talking about, Commissioner, was just that, to me, this is convenience. You're on the going home side, whether you get gas, you have to run in and grab a gallon of milk. Maybe there was talk of a 24/7 operation, that was a negative. We've all had kids, I think, that have been sick, and you run out of medicine for whatever reason at 2 a.m. CVS isn't open, the grocery store isn't open. It's beneficial for a community to have something where they can go and get items like that are critical, or somebody has to, you know, leave late at night and they still need gas. Who knows what it is, but it, to me, brings a lot of value and, frankly, security to the area, that it's a 24/7 operation. So,
Are you going to have any security after a certain time of night?
you know, we already have security for the project, so and we're going to continue to do that as of course the Sprouts opens up. We're going to have security through the night, without a doubt.
So,
Yes.
in other words, what I heard you say, that you already have security for the other facilities, so the same company is going to ride around in front of 7-Eleven to see how they're doing?
That's correct. Now, again, mind you, they've got a lot of cameras, and we have a variety of cameras, and there'll be even more once the Sprouts and that whole development south of Hemlock is up. But, you know, for us, we want things to be well lit, and we want to have security cameras. You want to know what's going on, and if there's issues, then you address them. You know, I don't think anybody can look, you know, anyone else in the eye and say, you know, we can solve homelessness overnight. It's a challenge. You know, we're doing our best, and we've accomplished a lot, but heck, you can drive to LA, some of the nicer places in LA, and they've got a massive homeless problem. So there's no, you know, way to do it other than in a very collaborative manner through security forces, working with the local, you know, police department and the city, code enforcement, all of those things to try and limit its impact. But I would say this, at least from our project, you're not going to have those issues because we're going to have the security in place. We do have the security in place.
So, in other words, 7-Eleven is going to be responsible for this project after it's built.
That is correct.
Completely,
Yes.
they are.
100%.
This is not a private buyer, you know, someone that bought the business. This is actually 7-Eleven Corporation owning the business
That
themselves.
is correct. Yes.
I got one more for you and one for the staff. As a private business, can a security guard politely ask someone to leave the premises, whether whoever it may be, just a person that's loitering around the area, can a private security guard can ask them to politely keep moving on?
Yes, and ours do it all the time. Again, I mean, we have a construction site that's ongoing. There's security there, not 24/7, but obviously when the construction crews aren't there, there's security there that entire time. So if somebody were to come on site, they would get them off and or call the police. Really, it's eyes and ears. So yes, they can politely tell somebody to leave, that they're on property, private property, they need to move along. If things were to escalate, then of course you have to involve, the police department. So.
I have one more for the staff. Do we still have the law in this state where you can't buy alcohol between 2 in the morning and 6? Yes, Manny's saying yes. That is still good. So in other words, there's no liquor, alcohol sold between 2 and 6. That's the law that you're going to, 7-Eleven is going to abide by also.
Correct. They would abide by all the laws.
Right, okay,
Yes.
good enough. Thank you so much for your answer, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, why don't we open up the public hearing? Thank you very much. We might call you back up if something comes up. Let's see. At this time, the clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 4.
Okay, maybe call them up, please.
Okay, calling the first 3 would be Johnny Guzman. I believe it's Brittany Goodrick and Tom Gerald.
Good evening. I think it'd be a convenience to bring 7-Eleven to the location, just due to the fact that they not just take our money, but they also give out Slurpee to the kids on certain days. So, it would be cool to come with the kids, come get a free Slurpee in a certain part of the year. And gas, the convenience of gas, you got a lot of gas stations right there, and I think it'll help with the congestion of them gas stations just being congested. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Johnny. Next is Brittany.
Hi, hello, and good evening. I'm Brittany Goodrich. I'd like to thank Lido Capital for constantly upgrading and believing in the city of Moreno Valley. Lido Capital is proposing building a new 7-Eleven. It's not often that you'll find big businesses save the day during a pandemic at that. 7-Eleven provides customers with not only the opportunity to fuel up on gas, but also gives the consumers the option to pick up on fresh fruit and produce on the go. We the consumers of Moreno Valley would love and greatly appreciate Lido Capital for bringing yet another need and necessity to the city. Again, thank you. I'm in agreement of this zone approval. I'm Brittany Goodrich. Have a great evening. I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Brittany. I believe Tom Gerald's next.
Tom Gerald, speaking on behalf of myself and the Sundance Center, where I spent a bit of time. We're not we're commercial properties about a half a mile to the southwest of the PIQ here. I support the project, and with Chair Corsack and Vice Chair John Jonell. Am I saying it right?
Dejanay.
Jayden. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I haven't been here in a while. But, and members of the staff and the public. Yeah, as I said, I support the project. Oddly enough, when I moved here in 1981, I lived effectively right across the street down Hemlock there, a little ways. And so I know this neighborhood very well. In fact, I used to go to Christmas parties and where the building's going to be demoed out at Zapardo's Realty back in the day. So great parties, great homemade food. But anyhow, a lot of good memory there. But I think 7-Eleven is going to make a fine corporate neighbor. I like this overall project. They've done some innovative things. They're bringing some good stuff to the community. I was just talking to my girlfriend tonight, and just before I came up here, and told her about the sprouts. She said, "You getting the sprouts in Moreno Valley?" And I said, "Yeah, where?" And so, anyhow, so I think the developer's done a good job trying to bring some good uses to the place. They've definitely revitalized it. The homeless problem has been crazy throughout that whole quadrant there, and I don't think 7-Eleven is going to be tolerant of any aberrant behavior. I mean, they're going to get some, but you're going to get it anywhere in commercial properties. You know, I was just in downtown Riverside, and you know they got their share of problem people too. So it's the world we live in. But the reality is, I think they're going to do a good corporate job. So I endorse the project, and I endorse the developer, and I hope you can approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerald. And I believe the last person is Roy B., who I think is Roy Blecker. He didn't need to put his last name on there.
If I can just have him spell his last name for me, please.
Are you ready? Bleckert. And I was educated in MVUSD. And I can even spell my name. Having graded out the original festival project back in the early 90s, and then watching it sit for 20 plus years, and as it was, you saw the homeless and all the problems that did. Now that we're getting that area developed, again, you're seeing the homeless and those problems go away, which is one of the great attributes of finishing a project and putting good tenants and structures in your area. You get rid of these problems. Yet, we have Tom Thornsley and George Haig, which have been terrorizing this community for 5 decades, wanting to stop every project, even ones up in the Moreno Ranch area, the Sunnymead Ranch area, which actually was decreasing the density, and they were still protesting it, like they're protesting everything today. It's no. My concern for me is when I need gas, I want a gas station open and where I can get it. This will do that. Plus, I believe it will, as it said, even take more of the homeless problem, because you got a donut shop and other ones and eateries and a 7-Eleven. Where do the cops hang out? Right there of that. And it's kind of humorous, but they will be patrolling that area. And you know what? Those who are breaking the law usually don't hang around where the cops are. So I think that's another side benefit of this. But again, for all of those followers of Haig and Thornsley and the Sierra Club, they continually come up here, and like I say, and I really mean it seriously, they have terrorized this community for decades. It's time for that to stop. You should pass this project and because it's going to have, the benefits are going to far outweigh any negative impacts, and that's basically what your job is up there, and make these decisions on. And I say this is an overall nice addition to our community. Hope you all vote for it, and we can move on and progress the community and maybe end the reign of terror, which has been going on for far too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bleckert. Okay, there are no more speakers. Would the applicant like to come up and address or make any final comments or anything? You don't have to, but if you'd like to, you may.
Tenants that are in the project currently, we have additional space within the project. So whether or not they all choose to move there is, they may or may not choose to do that, but I just wanted to pass that along as well. That's it.
Thank you. Any more questions of staff before we begin deliberations? I see none, so we will close the public hearing and begin deliberations. Anyone want to start off?
I'll start. I know I've been quiet for the day. I've been listening. I'm really familiar with that street. when I first bought my first home in 2008, it was in between Frederick and Heacock, and I used Heacock quite a bit. And I could always remember that getting off of Heacock, making a left, I mean, if I was coming in eastbound from the freeway, the only option was to try to get into that Shell station. And I can't tell you how many times, first of all, I don't even think you can make a left there right after that. But I see a lot of people, I used to see a lot of people trying to make a left and cut cars off, and near misses, a lot of near misses, because there's no other gas station unless you make a right to that Chevron or the Fast Trip or back. Then you have to turn all the way around to try to get gas or go to a convenience store. But I think it's long overdue, a gas station. I like the proposed plan that they're doing, and I do. They are doing a good job with the development in that area. I'm glad they tore down that car wash thing. That was an eyesore. That was nothing but homeless there, I remember. And now they're adding a Starbucks and a convenience store there. I think it's a good addition. I like what's going on, and I agree with the future of this area. So that's my comment there.
I'll go next, ma'am. I ask basic important questions: safety, security, surveillance, because that's important to the community, especially when you stop at a gas station at night. But one of the good things about this project, they're gonna have 16 pumps, 16 stations. It's long and it's lit, well lit. One of my concerns would be for the future that you maintain it. Because we know, Moreno Valley residents know, when you get off on Heacock, it should be clean, but it's dirty. Okay, it's been there for a lot of years. We need something to bring some light into that neighborhood so the other gas stations can follow. Okay? Now, Mr. Higgs, Mr. Thorstly did me a favor. They sent me pictures. I love them, of the areas of homeless and what it looked across the street in that area. They took pictures of the plaza and things like that. And they took pictures of homeless. But majority of the pictures were containers. Containers that don't have an area to be put in. So what you think when someone's hungry, looking for something to eat, they go inside that container. We do them an injustice by leaving them out, leaving them filthy with flies and mosquitoes and urine. We do them an injustice, the homeless. Those are human beings that are out there looking for a break, a hope. And we do them an injustice. Yes. I like the other one. People hanging out. I call it hanging out because I don't see homeless. I see a bunch of men or human beings hanging out under a tree getting shade. That's what they tell me they're homeless. That tells me they're hanging out. That picture wasn't taken up close. Somebody took that picture from a distance. How do you know they weren't hanging out, listening to music? I don't know. So you can't say that people that are walking up and down the street are all homeless, unless you look at their shoes, if they have shoes. That's how I know they're homeless, when they don't have shoes. Because the majority don't have clothes. So stop blaming this developer or other developer for human problems. They have nothing to do with it. I tell you what we can do. We can get the state to clean up the exit on Heacock so the development don't look bad, because the side of the freeway looks terrible. That's what makes Moreno Valley look bad. It's the freeway exits that make Moreno Valley bad, or the garbage, everything that the state don't clean up, and it sits there. And then you allow homeless people to have tents. That creates a problem. I hope the light that 7-Eleven brings out will change the attitude of people that go up and down that street. Just like my commissioner mentioned here, when you make a right, there's no gas station. You got to go across go across, make a left, and cut traffic just to get into that Shell station. Okay? It's terrible. Okay? Now, I went on my trip to Nevada this week to celebrate the Thanksgiving. You know what I like about gas stations out there? They big, they're roomy. And one of the things that we do most when we park is two things. We look for something to eat, and we run to the restroom. And this one has a restroom inside. See, the outside looks pretty. I like the outside. I like the color, I like the light. But I'm looking at the inside. The big picture is in the inside. All the freezers, all the coolers, the future restaurants. Do we have to travel far to have something good? No, it's here. It's in front of us right now. We should have the best in the city of Moreno Valley. And there's another plan. Instead of going down Hicot, and I said it out loud, and I'm going to say it again, take Hemlock and go around. Hope. You can do that. It'll take a couple of minutes to go around. You can do that. We can do that. As a city, we can do that. We can make that area a lot better because we all know what it's like between Shell, Chevron, and Arco. And Fast Track, luckily, is on the other end. For those three right there, I'm glad there's going to be a 7-Eleven to show them that you can do better, okay, in those neighborhoods, because people do buy gas. So I hope that tonight we think about what we're doing, that we give this project an opportunity to blossom, because the developer has taken that area and made it better for people to go to work, for people to go to shop, and for the homeless. I don't know where they went, but I hope they find a better place. Okay, so I like the project. I like what the developer's doing, but what really I like is 7-Eleven Corporation taking over, because they're accountable. This is not a small company. It's a big company. So we can hold them responsible for everything that's going on. So I enjoy what I saw. I enjoy everything that I read. I went to that site several times to make sure that the back, everything that they promised on paper is going to come to pass, because that's what's important. Whatever we read, it comes to pass. So thank you, Mr. Martin, for the project. Thank you, 7-Eleven, for picking Moreno Valley once again to be a beacon for other people to work so they don't have to go far. That's important. People get jobs, don't have to travel far, and go home and be with their families. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go next. You know, this area was very, very blighted, and we're starting to see wonderful improvements in that area. I frequent it a lot because I go to IHOP a lot because they're open late after we go to the theater. So it's very nice to see what's going on there. 7-Eleven is a first-class chain. Every time you go into a 7-Eleven, it is absolutely immaculate inside. Everything is well ordered. As far as the alcohol sales, I have no issues with that. They have everything in cases. It's very, very well monitored, perhaps even better than maybe some of our other liquor stores in the area. I don't know. But I do know when you walk into a 7-Eleven, the expectation is met. It is a well-designed and well-handled organization. Yes, I came back from Sedona this weekend, and I stopped at several 7-Elevens coming from the other direction just for the same reason. So I think putting this in that neighborhood would certainly help with the lighting and the control, and the homelessness is everywhere. You can go into Riverside. LA is a nightmare. And actually, Moreno Valley, on the scale of what's going on in our area, it's not very, very big. And I do believe that this presence here would help move people along. So I think it's a well-designed project. I like it. I'm not worried about the alcohol sales. I'm not worried about anything like that. And I think it will be a nice addition to that neighborhood.
I concur. I think it's a fantastic project. I love it. I'm glad that area is being revitalized. Gosh, I remember back when the movie theater, I used to be the Dollar Theater we used to go to back in the day. Yoshinoya was there, and There's one concern I have, and I'm kind of making light of this. There's two businesses that, with all best intentions, you put the plan down, but there's two businesses that you put the plan down, but it never seems to quite work out. One is In-N-Out, and the other Starbucks. You put the plan down there, and guess what? These two particular businesses, you have to redesign that entire parking lot in order to get people in and out of those places. And so with that being said, I'd say, I know a Starbucks is going in there, and that traffic flow is not going to work out the way it is, right? It's just how the businesses work. Every single Starbucks is like that. They have to put cones out. They have to do something to get that traffic. Same thing with In-N-Out. You put the business in, somehow the plan looks great, but before it actually goes in, just know that traffic is going to reroute. And just take a look at some of the existing Starbucks that are in the city, and see how they have to redesign and swivel that traffic to get in on the Starbucks. It's going to be a great thing. So I love the project. I'm for the project, and for those that are opposed to change, who moved my cheese? Yeah, we're going to grow. We're going to continue to grow. If you're living next to an empty field, something's going to go there. If we're in a dilapidated park area, somebody's going to come along and make an offer, and we're going to try to make it better. And I think that this developer is making it better. The more we develop, the more that we clean things up, the more that we put in big businesses and national chains and stuff like that, the less we're going to have in homelessness. The more that we have dilapidation, the more that we have open bins, the more that we have places that when we build these things and we build things that there's places to hide and tuck away and stuff like that, that's going to attract homelessness. And as we are still growing as a city, we have maybe a foresight to see that. We could see that we don't want to build places that create, tuckaway areas, natural campsites and stuff like that. So again, I say, be wary of Starbucks. Love them to death. They got me. But it's going to reroute that traffic. So before it actually goes down, take a look at that placement or how we can get that. So yeah, I'm for the project. Yahoo for the project.
Okay, any other comments or deliberations? If not, we will move on to a motion if someone would like to make it.
Get a crack at this. I make a motion that the Planning Commission approve resolution 2021-46 that also finds PEN 210095 CEQA exempt with the approval of PEN 210096 with the conditions and approvals and Exhibit A to all the resolutions. I think that's everything.
Sounds pretty good.
I second that.
Thank you. Commissioner Kobe on seconds. Let's call for the vote. And it is unanimous in its approval. So thank you, commissioners. At this time, would there like to be a staff wrap-up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee of $750. If an appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council within 30 days.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is other commission business. At this time, we have no items. The next item is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments?
I don't have any, Steve.
No? Okay. The next item is planning commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioner comments at this time?
I do, ma'am. One thing about pictures, they have 1,000 words that you have to bring out of the picture. There's only one that bothers me. All of them, some of them bother me, some of them bother me more. But one did bother me. The one with the couch. How does a homeless person get a couch all the way down there on he cot? Okay? You know what the problem is? Us, residents. Call Waste Management. Call them. You pay for that. I pay for that. They have services. We can avoid this if we stick together and use that plan. You have an opportunity to keep your city clean. But if you leave it out there and you say to yourself, I'm glad they took it, here it is right here. It makes it look bad. Then you got people, I don't want to even show you the next page because you got people sitting on it, hanging out. You can avoid that. This is one way to keep the city clean. Call Waste Management.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, the Planning Commission is adjourned at 7:57 p.m. to our next regular meeting of December 9th, 2021. Thank you all for the evening.